We specialise in protecting, preserving and growing your wealth. Blacktower Financial Management, the team you want by your side. Visit blacktowerfm.com.
Tuesday, where we have Christina Brady on from Blacktower Financial Management. Just put back a week, but all better now. I said we'd got a question from Mike, who's listening in Tenerife, just about the triple lock on pensions. This is pensions obviously coming out of the UK. And is it still a thing? Is that continuing? I think it is, isn't it?
Yes, it looks like it is. Yeah, it looks like that the state pension will increase by 8.5% in April 2024. As far as I know, it's going to be honoured, barring some announcement from the government. I don't think they can go back on it now, but I would expect if the rate carries on being that high, they may try and do something going forward, because they just cannot sustain paying out that much. There's not enough people paying into the state pension. It's like a big pyramid scheme. People pay in and then they've got the money to pay out. At the moment, they haven't got the money, but it is good for pensioners. It still doesn't beat inflation, mind you, but, it last year over 10%, this year, next year, over 8% is good. And as long as you live in one of the countries where you do get the rises, you're fine. Certain countries don't, as we know, like Australia, etc. They don't get the rises. But if you're in Spain, if you're an expat in Europe, you do get the rises on your state pension. So hopefully that will help you in some way. As we said, if you look at it, grocery inflation, they're quite happy because it's only at 9.7%.
Yeah, single digits.
But, and they're going to give you 8.5. So still, but it's better than nothing. And I think, the trouble with that is, though, for some people, it does now push them over the tax bracket in the UK. In the UK, you get a personal allowance of just over £12,000. With the increase you got this year and next year, some people, it could take them over the zero band, and so you'll find yourself paying tax on the amount above that 12,000. I think it's 12,500 or 12,250. I can't remember because obviously I don't live in the UK. But you will find yourself liable for tax if you live in the UK if you go above that. Obviously in Spain, if you live in Spain, it's different because the personal allowances are a lot less here, unfortunately.
Yes.
So you are most probably already paying tax on your state pension if you get it here in Spain.
Okay.
So it's good news, hopefully. At the moment, it does look like they will be increased by 8.5% in April 2024.
Well, if it is that date, then that's likely to be pre-election, so he's probably not going to mess with it before then.
I don't think they'll want to upset, pensioners or anybody really coming up to an election.
No, exactly.
Anything, that they can do to try and win votes, they will do. So as I said, I expect it to stay in place for next year. But after that, I think there may be some adjustments to that, no matter what the government is, because they just cannot sustain that expense.
No, and it's the same everywhere. I mean, same in Spain. They're really struggling. It's the weight on the pension system because of the just ever-increasing age of people.
But also, you've got to look at the fall in birth rate across Europe, in Spain, in Italy, in the UK, especially amongst the people that are paying into the pension. So, it's a difficult thing. People are cutting back on having children because they don't think they can afford it, or some of them don't think it's a good world to bring children into. So we are seeing a fall in birth rate, which then means obviously there isn't the youth to come through to carry on paying into the system. So as I said with UK state pensions, I think if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, you will get a state pension. I think if you're below that, I would be very, very surprised if the state pension remains as it is. And I think if it does carry on, it will be means tested, and the age you get the pension will rise substantially. So I could see the age for getting your state pension rise to 70, even 75, and maybe being means tested. So I think the generations that are getting it now, or the ones that are coming up to getting it, I think you should count yourself lucky because things are going to change. There's too much debt for most countries and they cannot afford to pay at the level they're paying at the moment.
Yeah, and hopefully...
And that also brings me to the thing, if you are sort of in your 40s or under, you really need to start making your own pension provisions. It sounds really cruel mentioning this, but when people started working in the 80s, 90s, even early 2000s, you got final salary pensions. You didn't have to pay into them. Your employer paid into them. You got a pension, unless you work in the public sector, and then you're still on a cushy number. But I'm sure that's going to change as well. For the government, like civil service, etc. You don't get final salary pensions anymore. You have to contribute. Sometimes your employer contributes as well, but you really need to be putting money aside. It doesn't necessarily need to go into a pension. It can go into a savings plan. It can go into an investment plan. They're more flexible than a pension. And also when you take money out, they're taxed differently. So sometimes investments and savings plans are more tax efficient when you want to draw money. But you need to start doing that. It's very hard to say that when you're young, because you think, oh God, why am I trying to save money for when I'm old, grey-haired, wrinkly?
Yeah, might not
but
make it.
Unless you want to be in poverty, you need to think about it now. And it's easier said than done. I must admit, I didn't start thinking about a pension really till I was in my 40s. And I've worked in finance all my life. But it's something people do need to look at and need to work on. If you want to retire, if you want to relax in your old age and you don't want to be working till you die, you need to start doing something about it now.
Yeah, and there may be people in situation, I think we've mentioned this before as well, where they'll probably make up their 15 years in Spain if they've been contributing to get the minimum Spanish state pension. But it's worth, if you can, keeping up the payments. If you've paid in enough already that it's worthwhile in the UK, keep the national insurance contributions going, so you'll get
or
that.
Topping it up. You have till 2025
That's
to
right.
top up your UK pension.
That was,
and you can get a forecast that tells you lots of people are doing that at the moment. But also you're saying the minimum 15 years. They keep on raising that minimum.
No. So
at the moment it's 15 years, but who says in 5 years' time it may not be 20 years? So what I'm saying is people cannot necessarily, count on getting a pension, state pension. I think, if you are working at the moment and you are in your 40s, 50s or 60s, obviously you've got enough time to build up those years to get a state pension. In the UK, please look at topping it up. For most people, if you top it up, it will pay off that top up within 5 years.
Yeah.
Once you start getting the state pension. So please look at it. Sometimes it is difficult to get hold of the department that deals with it, but when you do, they're very, very helpful. I've heard from people who said, once we've got through to them, they're very, very helpful at giving you information and sending it out. So it's worthwhile looking into it. You will need your UK, obviously, insurance number. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have to sign on to a gateway. But if you go on there, it does explain it all, and you can always phone them. You may have to hang on for a while, but it is worth it. So please look into that if you have got a state pension. And if you're coming up, even if you're in your 50s or 60s, it may be worthwhile topping that up.
Yeah. Okay, let's get on to one or two bits from the business news. As always, there's a picture of Elon Musk in the business news. Did you see him at the AI summit at Bletchley Park? I think it was last week, wasn't it? He turned up with Rishi Sunak and others. And I don't think he was taking it that seriously. He started talking about killer robots and the like. He's in his own time zone, Elon Musk. He just kind of does what he wants. He's like Mr. Burns. He can just do whatever he wants.
I think he just sniffs Tipex and then comes out.
Yeah, it was just fun. I mean, but the thing is, he knows his stuff. Anyone that tried to take him on in a sort of debate, he'd time in knots. Doesn't matter who you are. He is a genius. Yeah. But otherwise, we wanted to talk about WeWork, which is quite a big deal. This is a big news story.
It is. WeWork, which is the office sharing company, has filed for bankruptcy in the US. And once this was the most valuable US startup company. Okay, so, and it's happened very, very quickly. What they did was obviously they lent out office space, and you could share office space. Due to COVID, the demand in that fell, and it hasn't really recovered. So it's filed for bankruptcy in the UK. It has obviously offices in the UK, in the US. Has offices in the UK. So it just shows that. I do say to people, sometimes if you want to invest and you want to take a punt on something, look at startup companies. But that just shows one that showed so much promise. If you put money in there, is now worthless. So you have to be careful. It's a bit like Bitcoin. Put in what you can afford to lose.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the pandemic was a massive part of that because people got comfortable working from home in a lot of cases. But also the co-founder of the company, he didn't seem to be too honourable a chap and left under a cloud.
Yes,
and a multi-billionaire.
There's lots of people that leave under a cloud. But so that's just to warn people. Obviously, once Microsoft was a startup company, Apple, etc. So you do get good ones. But when people invest in startup companies, they usually spread what they're investing because they know, 90% of what they invest in or more is going to fail. But if 1% or 2% take off, they could be, mega rich. Also, we've got in the UK, they're closing down another steel works.
Yeah,
and
there was a couple of those,
2,000 redundancies.
Yeah. Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, British Steel, in Scunthorpe.
Yeah, which I think is very sad. I think, we do need to keep these industries going. Sometimes you get a whole town, a whole area that relies on that industry. It's not just the works itself. It's all the suppliers. It's everything that goes with it. So that's going to be a big knock-on effect for that area, especially coming up to Christmas, and especially with times being so hard. It's just a shame that the government couldn't step in and do something as it would do if a bank was going under. It just shows where their priorities are. Certain industries should be supported so that they can carry on and maybe make the layoffs in a more structured way over a period of time. But the government is not doing that, and I think it's got its priorities wrong. If it was a bank, they'd be stepping in there either secretly or, it'd be out in the press to try and bail it out. If you look what happened with Credit Suisse, UBS stepping in and various other banks, they're not allowed to go under. Yet something that supplies an area with work, and supports a huge amount of people, there's nothing there to help them. And I think that is wrong. Yeah. Anything else on the markets? I can't think of anything else at the moment.
No,
young man?
I was just going to say about the steel thing. Is that a case of where it becomes easier and cheaper to import steel than have it produced within your own country with the cost of labour and the like?
Yes, but what you've got to think is the stuff that's being imported is being subsidised by the government in that country. And so this is where I think it's wrong. They're not fair. Then it's not an equal playing field.
Oh, no. Yeah, I'm just saying that's what it comes down to sometimes.
It is. It's just wrong. But that's just my thoughts, and I think most people would agree with that. But there's not a lot we can do about it if governments are too weak to step in and actually tackle the problems.
You might argue that it's in the north of England, so they're not really that bothered too much. Anyway, let's get back to some more in just a moment.
No, that's true. I'm sorry. If it was the City of London, it'd be completely different. But as I said, there's not that much positive news to make the markets go up at the moment. I think people just need to sit tight with their investments. Obviously, most people lost quite a lot in 2022. Isn't recovering in 2023. You've just got to accept that. You've just got to sit tight. As I said, all being well, things will start to recover 2024, 2025. But with everything, you've just got to sit tight and please don't panic. If you sell once the market's full, you're crystallising a loss. Please don't do it. And don't sit there and have a go at your pension companies, your financial advisors, whatever, because your pension hasn't made that much money. If the markets and there isn't that growth there, how are they going to make you money? Yeah. And be very, very careful of scams at the moment that do offer you returns that are way above what you can expect in the market. I've told you the rates you can expect. If you're offered anything like more than that, some people have been offered 10, 12% on different schemes. Please, it is too good to be true.
Yeah. Okay. Well, rather than make you sit through another tune and maybe a break and stuff, we might as well, unless there's anything else you want to add, how do we get in touch with you?
Right. If you have any questions or you need any advice at all, please don't hesitate to get in touch. The best email is info@blacktowerfm, that stands for financialmanagement.com. If you put BayRadio or Christina, it'll come through to me. Someone should contact you almost straight away when you put an inquiry. If you don't hear within 24 hours, for some reason your inquiry hasn't got through, and please just put it in again. You can always go to our website, which is blacktowerfm.com. You can either go to contacts. If you go under Spain, you'll find myself. If you go under France, you'll find me as well, and you can drop me an email, or you can call the office, which is 965058212, or if you live near the office, which is in Javier, you can always pop in and make an appointment, or you can always email email studio@bayradio.fm, and they will pass that on to me, or go onto the Bay Radio website, go to advertisers, click on Blacktower. It takes you through to our website, fill in a contact form, or as I said, look up our contact details and get in touch with us. If we are busy in the office, you may get a voicemail, but we do come back to you straight away as soon as we're free. And as I said, please don't hesitate. Just get in touch, even if you just want a review of your existing financial stuff, if you want some advice on pensions, investments, or if you've got any questions regarding anything I've spoke about, we will try and help you.
Listening and exceeding expectations for over 31 years. Blacktower Financial Management, the team you want by your side. Visit blacktowerfm.com.